And I remember thinking, Hulk Hogan was always my friend and was always a fan of my work. He told me his dad was the biggest Heart Foundation fan, and that of all people, his dad loved the Heart Foundation. I always thought Hulk was one of my good friends. When I first started wrestling, I worked with Hulk a lot and I taught him a lot and helped him when he first started. And when he became a big star, I always thought we were pretty good friends. But the day when I won the title, I guess I was no longer Hulk's friend anymore. Because I remember the first time I saw him, I went up to say hi to him, walked down the ramp going into the building, and he was standing against the wall talking to Brutus Beefcake. And I walked up to him. I said, "Hey, Terry," I came up to shake his hand, and he had his arms crossed like this, and he wouldn't even take my hand. He wouldn't shake my hand. I remember just looking at me and sort of nodding and talking to Beefcake. And so I remember just standing there like this with my hand out for about 20 seconds, and I just walked away, and I was like, him. Yeah, and so,
I want to I want to ask you this: why do you think that he did that?
he just, I think he thought he was the big dog and the king dog in the company, and anybody else, I don't think anybody, I think he had problems with Macho Man or Warrior or whoever else. He was a guy that thought he was everything in wrestling and that everyone else was, we were all backup players to Hulk Hogan, and that's the way he saw it. And once that belt was on me, I became the enemy or somebody that had to be removed. And I didn't. I still talk to Vince, and Vince is like, "No, no, nothing's changing. No change of plans. You're Hogan's got nothing to do with you. He's going to be in tag teams with Beefcake and I don't know who the Money Inc. or something he was wrestling, and he goes, he's just promoting a movie. He's got nothing to do with anything." And so I kept believing that. And then when I showed up in Las Vegas for WrestleMania, the first thing I get is a message to come talk to Vince. And that was the night before. And it was just almost like I thought it was a joke. Like he goes, "We're taking the belt off you." And I was like, I remember like just sort of like my eyes burning, beams, like light beams through Vince McMahon. But then he laid it all out to me, and it sucked. I thought it was the worst. Regardless of whether it was me in there, I thought that is the finish, and that the fans are gonna barf when they see that. And I think, I'm probably pretty close to the truth. It was. I think what really was going on is that Hogan was putting a lot of pressure on Vince to take the belt and take it off me and put it on him. Otherwise, he was going to go to WCW. So I think it was our last. Vince just pulled the plug on me, like everything he said, everything he promised me and said to me didn't matter. Just unplugged that and put in Hulk Hogan again. And I remember so many things about that night. I remember Hulk Hogan telling me that he goes, "I want to thank you so much," and she was like suddenly my friend again. Suddenly we're talking, which I wasn't very talkative if you knew me. But he was back to being my buddy again now that he was getting the belt. And I remember he said to me in the dressing room, he goes, "I'll be happy to return the favor." And I remember I stopped and I looked right at him and I said, "I'm going to hold you to that." And anyway, the truth is, after that, after I lost the belt to Hogan, my popularity or my crowd, sort of my popularity with the company never diminished at all. I was still basically the star of the company, but Hogan was the champion. And I know he did a tour right away. They did a tour over here in England and Europe, all over, and I don't think it did as well. And they were starting to have second thoughts about Hogan, I think Vince was. And all I know is that I could feel that, like you sometimes you get like a instinct. I said, "I'm probably going to win the belt back." I remember thinking about it. I said, the main event has to be SummerSlam, has to be Bret Hart versus Hulk Hogan. It's going to be the biggest match. of all the wrestlers we got in the company, that's the two guys. That's the one everyone wants to see. Bret Hart versus Hulk Hogan. So I could feel it. And then Vince had called me and said, because I was still over with or without the belt, which was a surprise to me because I thought my time had come, and that I actually thought I failed maybe as champion and didn't do a good enough job for some reason.
You famously said in your book that you guys filmed a promo shot of you and Hogan with the belt, which obviously has never come to light. But like, why do you think he would go as far as to shoot that promo shot with you and, you know, tell you, yeah, we're gonna do it, and then like, why did he drop it to Yokozuna and not you? What would have made a difference to him?
I don't know. I think what it was to stop him from going to WCW. But what Hogan's motives were, I don't know. I mean, I just know that when Vince had called me and said, you're going to win the King of the Ring, the first one, and we're going to, somewhere in that conversation, this is before the King of the Ring, he said, I remember he called me up I was at home in my day off, and I was in my kitchen, and he called my house. Vince was all friendly, and I remember I answered the phone, and he goes, we're going to put the belt back on you. And I was like, I remember giving my wife at the time the thumbs up, like this is the news I've been waiting for, you know. I kind of thought that something was going to happen. He goes, I'm putting you and Hogan together at SummerSlam. You're gonna beat him right in the middle of the ring with a sharpshooter. And I'm telling him, like, to my wife, I'm like, holy like the. And so I was really happy. Like I was like trying to be calm, like, great. And he goes, there's only one problem. He goes, I haven't talked to Hulk about it yet. But he goes, shouldn't be any problem, but I'll be talking to him in the next day or so. And so don't say anything, keep it under your hat kind of thing. And so I hang up the phone. This is about 4 days before the King of the Ring. And we went on the road, and I called him from the road. I called Vince every day, and he goes, basically that Hogan's not buying it, doesn't want to do it, doesn't want to put you over, and won't agree to do the finish. He's refusing to put you over. And then I remember Vince telling me, almost like he's trying to piss me off. He said, Hogan says you're not in his league, and that that you could never work with him. So I remember I was like, he said, but don't say anything. I got a couple more days to work on him, and I think I can talk him into it for Sunday. So I go to the pay-per-view on Sunday, and I'm pissed off. I'm so mad. I can't believe that Hulk Hogan would do this to me. Like, I was a guy that always thought of him as a friend, and vice versa. And I know I worked really hard to finally climb up that ladder to get to that spot. I worked so hard. And here he was, stopping me from getting my proper push. And anyway, that day in the dressing room in Dayton, where I won the King of the Ring, I remember I got there and they said, basically, it's no change. Hogan refuses to work with you. Says you're not in his league, and so we're putting you with Jerry Lawler at King of the Ring or SummerSlam. And I was like, what's that supposed to be? Like, there's no money in that match. First of all, when you're a world champion, in those days, I don't know about anymore, but in those days, when you were the champion, you had the belt, you were the highest paid wrestler on the card, period. And so, I was just starting getting used to some pretty good, serious money that I was making at the time. And it was a big blow for me to have Hulk Hogan refuse. And so when Vince told me that all that night in the dressing room, that Hulk didn't want to refuse to put you over, and so we're going to have to change it. We're putting you with Jerry Lawler now. I was so mad. I thought, who is Hulk Hogan to dump my career out the back, just to over my career like it's nothing. And so I remember thinking I should just go in and confront him straight up, face to face. But I thought, well, I better not do it in the first match, because if we get into a fight and he can't wrestle or something, or I beat the crap out of him, or I was mad enough, and I was really, really mad and pretty fired up and ready to do whatever was necessary. But I thought I better not do it before his match because he's got to go in and wrestle. And at the time, I thought it's not Yokozuna's fault. He's going to get the belt. He's going to be the new champion, all because of Hulk refusing to do this for me. Suddenly, he's going to get all the top money. He'll be main event, be the world champion for 6 months till SummerSlam. Anyway, that's all the money that should have gone to me, but it's going to him. So it's not fair for me to, hold that against him or screw up something for him. So my thinking was, don't say anything till after his match. Let him have the match, let the belt change hands like it's supposed to, and then just go in and let him know what you think of him. And so that's what happened. He had his match. He dropped the belt to Yokozuna, which, if you remember that match with Yokozuna and Hulk Hogan, that might conceivably be the worst finish in all wrestling history.